So, welcome back, guys, to the Improvement Season podcast. With me, Pascal Floor, and on the other end, it's Steve Hall. And I have a déjà vu. I think that I actually introduced the last time, and we are always switching back and forth. But anyway, here we are now. It's me introducing. That is absolutely all right. I know you guys love it when I'm inconcise, basically, and just keep on rambling. But the question that is on every listener's mind who's not from the UK, how's the lockdown situation in the UK? What has Boris said? What has he told the world, or rather the UK citizens?
Just initially, the hilarious thing is, because Jess now responds to YouTube comments, but we both obviously still read them. So I know the comment I saw that comment, and I literally just saw a comment on the part 2 of the podcast with the guys for the hypertrophy mesocycle progression, and someone just said Steve was asleep most of the time, and I'm just like, I wasn't asleep. I was like on the edge of my seat, like breaming. But anyway, in terms of for us guys in the UK, not too much has actually changed, to be honest. As far as I'm concerned, Charlotte was going into work because he was like, it's like the running joke is like, stay at home, go to work, stay at home, go to work. And yeah, now stay at home is what they're being told to do. So she was going in twice per week. Now she's back home. Actually her work hasn't said what's going to happen, but she's probably home permanently. We have that 6-person maximum people who can meet up together rule. Yeah. And there's some like increased fines and things for if you're not wearing a face mask. Yeah. And then I think they may have, banned indoor sports. So like football or like, because you just can't keep social distance playing football or something like soccer. But like, I think like gyms haven't been affected apart from that, I don't think. Not too harsh.
I heard one thing, and that is also basically my opinion. And we've talked about it offline also with the other guys when we had our team meeting. Even ever since back in March, when the first lockdown actually taken place, that we basically discussed they can't do this for too long, like having a lockdown. And if they do this, then a second lockdown would be unimaginable for businesses and the economy, because the first lockdown was already quite devastating in regards to the economic landscape. And a second lockdown would be the end for many businesses. And this is something that no one could actually take responsibility for. Or I don't think that any kind of politician would like to take the responsibility for that, because you would destroy like thousands of lives because of a decision where you want to protect thousands of lives. And that's why I also heard that they try their very best to keep businesses open. So also that's why the gyms probably stay open as well. And also I've seen like a post over on the Phone Police where he posted like, I've totally forgotten who it was who posted about this, but this was a longer term observational study maybe, where they took a look at the infection rate coming from people who are in a gym environment. That one was very, very low. Good for us, basically, but also just from an economic perspective, I think that shutting it down or making a proper lockdown another time, it's basically irresponsible, basically.
Yeah, I think my opinion is very similar, and it was just a case of, I feel like the way I see it is the government like flip-flop a little bit too much, and they need to just taper things. Like they tapered the lockdown. They just need to taper things opening a bit more than they were. And also, unfortunately, because I watched Andy Morgan's story, and he was talking about why maybe Japan have done better. And he was just saying like, just the adherence to wearing face masks is way higher. People wear a face mask. It isn't a political statement. It isn't like a no science statement. It's I'm wearing a mask because this is what we do, and this is like I want to be there for everyone else. And
absolutely. I've been to Tokyo once, right? Only for two weeks though. But the good thing was that whenever someone is sick, they are wearing a mask to protect other people around them. Yeah. And that is already applied. This is a normal thing that you do out of respect for the people in your environment. And I always found it cool, because when I was still working in an office, there were so many people still showing up to the office and being like, I'm so sick. So why the fuck are you here? You're not doing anything good for the company when you're here, and you're basically super contagious. And in 1 week, like 20 or 30 of the other workers are now sick as well because you thought it's a good idea to come to work, right? And this is always what I loved about Japan as well, that they were wearing masks just out of respect for their environment, because there's definitely a protection there, right? But yeah,
it's a
anyway,
culture thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I've worked like the office job, and it was almost frowned upon to take a sick day. Like you needed to be fucking sick to take a sick day. And if you took one, you would triple, double loads of work to come to when you came back. So you didn't want to take one. So then you would come in if you had like a slight cold, because it's like, oh, like it's not bad enough to stay at home. But like you said, then like you're not as productive as you could be. You're probably sick for longer. You might make other people sick. So I just think we're just behind the times with that. It's the similar, like just go like work harder. It's not encouraged to take care of health. Health is just such a afterthought for so many things.
The greatest thing, and I bet my ass off that this is something that you've done as well, because I think that everyone has done it at some point, is when you're calling in at work and you want to call in because you're sick, right? You actually play a little bit with your voice and be like, I'm very sick. I need to stay at home. Just to make it more easily to understand that you're really sick. But actually, right now, looking back, I'm just like, why the fuck is someone actually or kind of playing with their voice? Yeah. If they are sick and they are calling in to report that they are sick, they don't need to sound sick in order to believe that they are sick, right? But I bet my ass off that you've done it as well, and that so many listeners have. You haven't? You haven't?
I worked, I don't know how long I worked office jobs for, but I think I only took one sick day, and I went in, I left because I was so sick. I think I don't know, I had diarrhea, or I was sick in the toilet or something, and I was like, right, yeah, I actually have to go home because I shouldn't have come in. Just that stubbornness.
Everything we just talked about, though, is of course just our very, very own opinion that is based on just how we perceive things at the moment. So always take it with a lot of grain of salt, because this is, I mean, many people have commented in the past that stating these kind of things and giving our opinion to these kind of matters is not very valuable. And I totally agree, because we have no insight, we have no knowledge around that specific topic, but it's just our opinion that we are sharing, that we are seeing. But it is then up to the listener in this kind of instance to really identify, like, okay, these are no experts, so I shouldn't be listening to them when it comes to these kind of things. So yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because I know that some people are, once again, probably like, you shouldn't talk about these kind of things. But in the end, you all know that we are no experts, right? So
it's just present in our lives, and like everyone else listening, it's a big part of what we're doing day to day. So yeah, the only other thing that Boris has changed is, I think it's restaurants and pubs close at 10 p.m. And you're right, from what I've seen, like gyms and stuff, I mean, people don't tend to go to I think especially now, hopefully people aren't going to the gym when they're sick. And then, I mean, it's most people are training on their own, so there's 1 to 2 meters between everyone.
At least in our gym, you're not even allowed to get to the gym when you're sick. So once
do they take temperature?
No. But still, I mean, some people you hear when they are sniffing or coughing the entire time. It's like, I would very much assume that then the staff is coming up to them and saying like, okay, leave.
You'd hope.
And also, by the way, I think many people that are in the gym are not as fucked up as we are, who would still show up to the gym even though that they are sick. The general population would love to stay at home because they are sick then. You get what I mean? So that's also one of the reasons why I don't think that many people then are very contagious when they are there also. At least my assumption.
Yeah. I know Andy said as well, they have, like, take your temperature. Like, when I think about taking temperature, I'm like, oh, it's like a bit of a like annoying process. But actually, they've just got these like guns that they put on your forehead now, don't they? So it's like, why don't you do that before going in a shop or going in like to a restaurant or a pub or the gym? Yeah. It's easy, right? Like,
I mean, we have it still the old school way when they are taking temperatures, just like a pin up your ass, and then you have to take the temperature.
I never
like
had
this,
that one.
like in public.
Oh dear!
Like pants down, up your ass. Okay, you're fine. Oh no, wait a second, I have to measure again. Anyway,
sounds like you were abused, Pascal.
Yeah, and then the guy said like, okay, it's not working. Let me try a different one. And I need to stay there for like 15 minutes, and he continuously poked something up my ass. But anyway, here we are now. What has been going on here in the last week, Steve, with you? Deload. So week 3, week 4.
I am in week 3 of my mesocycle, and really the only interesting thing I think to say about this mesocycle is from actually no, I'm doing my sessions here tomorrow, but on Friday and Saturday I'll be in Bude seeing Charlotte's parents for the first time this year.
So this is
saw them at Christmas.
Going to happen after all.
So it is happening because there's no measures that mean we can't. We were looking to get an Airbnb so we wouldn't be with them as much, but there's like nothing available that's of a reasonable, like with dogs, that's a reasonable price. Like you can rent out like some luxurious places, but they cost like $1,000 a night or something.
We have a room separate for the dog as well.
Yeah, like a jacuzzi and like a spa, and it's just like with like it can house like 6 people, and just like it's just us. So
but I thought that you're making 6 figures a year, Steve.
It's
because you're an influencer, and if not, then you're making something wrong. I mean,
I get $1,000 for every 10,000 followers. Did you not know that?
No, I didn't. This is why I don't have that many followers. So how should I know? I'm not in the circle where the secrets are then being shared.
I actually, this is a bit of a side tangent, but I don't know why it came up. Sometimes you talk to clients and you bring up things that are just completely not kind of in the context of coaching necessarily. I was talking to Mike Chalice, our physio, and I don't know why it came up. I was like, I'm on a new skincare routine, and he wanted to know my skincare routine, and I felt like a full-on influencer giving him my like current skincare routine.
Do you have a skincare routine?
Only the last 3 weeks.
All right.
I wash my face. Now I wash my face.
Is it like
before?
Pat Bateman from American Psycho? Like iconic intro to a movie.
Man, I need to do a vlog like that. Like my skincare routine, my sparkling water,
that would be
or whatever it is.
Like replicating that, eh?
That's what what's his name did, who is a proper influencer with his sparkling water and like keto coffee or something, and he like does all these superhero programs. Gallagher.
Greco Gallagher.
That's the one, yeah. He did a full-on, like,
really?
American Psycho, but his version of it. Yeah, it was quite sick, to be fair, but...
Yeah, that's cool.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so, yeah, I just wash my face now, and then I moisturize
it. this is my skincare routine.
Which I used to wash it with water, and now I wash it with actual face wash. So that's good, but it's very convenient. Anyway, where's I going? Where am I?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Whereas I said, explain. So the only difference, so we're going to Bude, but normal Bude gym, for anyone who's seen me training in that kind of cool little garage gym, he's not letting in anyone who isn't a member. So that sucks. But there is a commercial gym now in Bude, which is pretty cool because there wasn't one that I was aware of last time. So I booked in for 2 sessions there because you have to book your sessions in. So I'll be training there for a couple of days and having to combine AM and PM sessions. So that'll be a bit interesting, but I'll I'll be vlogging that, hopefully. I don't know how they're going to be in that gym about me vlogging, but I'll vlog my time there. So it'll be cool to see her parents and be in Bude, because it'll be a bit of a holiday, like a long weekend, which would be nice, because I haven't had actually a holiday this year. No one really has.
Before the overreaching week?
It's week 3, so I will have a week 4 and 5.
Oh, okay. So you're extending it a little bit.
Yeah, so hopefully it won't be too drastic. And that pool session that I'll be doing there, I'd been combining my AM and PM sessions recently anyway, because like we talked about via WhatsApp, I was just like, it's quite nice sometimes to just combine a session so you have a bit more of, like you don't have to go back and forth. Not that it changes time that much, it's just nice to have you've done your gym and now you can recover, whereas every day we're like, done my big session and it's like, I have to go back in a few hours. Oh, okay.
And it's not just like the psychological thing. I think many people who have never tried 2-a-day training they aren't aware of how much more demanding that is. Even though you're doing the same amount of volume, maybe 2 sessions a day is just fucking you so much more than just one single session.
Especially legs.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Big
right?
time.
I mean, don't know what it is. I mean, yeah, I do know what it is, because you're inducing a stressor like 2 times per day instead of in one big bolus, and that is just like super hard on you. What can be super hard. At least.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to scaling back when I do my mini cut. I won't be doing twice daily. I'll just go 6 times rather than 12 or 11, because it's just nice to have an intermittent break. That's recently, just did that with Mike Chalice actually, and he was like so eager to do 6 days a week, twice daily every day. And then he was like, actually, it's really been nice going once during the mini cut. Can we have a few sessions where we combine it? I'm like, yeah, definitely. It makes sense to do that as well.
Yeah, I have one athlete who tried it in the lockdown situation as well. And we did it for one mesocycle. And after that one mesocycle, he said, like, that was a very great experiment, but let's go back to once a day training, because it is so much more. You think it's just like double the amount of work, or like just going to the gym like another time, but it isn't. It requires so much more than this. And yeah, he was just like, yeah, it was a good experiment, but it fucked me up so much more, and I needed to dedicate so much more time towards training than I was comfortable with, and I wasn't aware of that at first, and that's why let's go back to once a day training rather than 2 a days.
Yeah, and it's the training. Because, and the reason for it is because the quality can be better for your kind of accessory work or your hamstring or quad work for your leg training. Like, you can just actually go in and give it more because you're not limited by any systemic training within a single session. Like you don't hit a session MRV as easily. So that is why. And then there's not just you have to be more on top of training, but then it's like your sleep, your recovery, your actual nutrition between sessions. You just have to think about a lot more things when you do it. So it's definitely for like the advanced person who can think about these things. Another comment I just saw on YouTube was just talking about, like, this comment comes all the time about, why do we have to talk about mesocycles and microcycles? And like, I like Mike, but he really overcomplicates everything. We can't understand this at all. Like, it's not that difficult to understand. Like, when you actually sit down and just like take it in, I can understand if you just are throwing everything at you at once, but it takes a bit of time. But I think like making something, we don't make things more complicated for the sake of it. I think that's a problem. It's just making it a little bit more nuanced. Then go train hard.
I think, and we've talked about it like 1 or 2 episodes ago, right? But it's like you just said, we are not making it more complicated, but more nuanced. And I think it's very important to make or differentiate between those two. That it's not just like making things complicated, because why would you do that? Well, where's the value in that, in just making things complicated? There isn't, right? But you're making it more nuanced so that you can actually benefit more from the things that you're doing.
Yeah, and it's, for me, I always bring up this example of like nutrition. I always felt so lost when I was first doing it. I was just like, because simple is just eat clean food, eat lots of protein. But I was always just like, man, like, I just never felt like I knew what I was really doing. And like, I was just like, oh man, I'm like, this seems too simple that I just can't get it right. Whereas when you start understanding, oh, there's macros, oh, maybe calories, oh, I need to see weight go up if I want to gain appreciable muscle. Then I was like, oh, now I understand it. And it's the same with training. It's like, just go in and train hard. It's like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? Oh, there's volume. Oh, maybe I can look at volume via sets. It's like, oh, okay. Now it starts making a bit more sense, like when you understand the bare bones.
Yeah, this also carries over, or translates to nearly all aspects of life, right? Yeah. If you only have a certain level of knowledge about a specific topic or field, then of course certain things may seem super complicated to you, right? But the more knowledge you're gathering, the easier things do become for you to understand. I'm very certain that for us, there are so many things out there that if we were to delve into that topic, we would just be like, holy shit, what is this? This is super complex. Whereas someone else who has been dealing with that since years already, maybe studied it, maybe even has a PhD in that field, for him it's just like, this is actually the simplistic stuff. There's much more complex stuff out there, right? And it's just like a level of knowledge. And I mean, if I were to go back in time, I would bet my ass off that everything that I'm thinking of right now, I would be massively overwhelmed with like 5 or 6 years ago. And this is just like, it comes with time. Yeah. And I think it's important. We as human beings, we want to actually move forward, don't we? Or do you just want to be like, stand still and just, yeah, I find it all right here. I mean, I know that there are very many individuals who are feeling comfortable with the place they're in right now. They don't want to move forward, and they are absolutely comfortable with that. But these are not my ambitions and never have been. Whenever there's something that I'm interested in, I want to learn more about it, right? And this is where it also then comes from. Also my drive, my ambitions. Right? And then over time, things that seem complicated to someone else may not seem complicated to you, but then for you, because you are maybe further ahead than that other guy in the knowledge or the realms of knowledge. But for you, there are probably ahead of you lots of other things that may seem super complicated and super complex, where you are thinking like, okay, what is this even?
Fast, efficient fat loss. Does that sound like music to your ears? The mini cut movement might just be for you. Mini cuts are like robbing the fat bank. You want to get in and out with as much fat as possible. In a short period of time, you could easily look to lose 6 to 12 pounds of fat. The mini cut movement is excellent. There's group support for extra accountability and also expert help within the group. We have educational videos to keep you on track along the way, and you get all your nutrition and training customized and individualized for you. So if that sounds of interest, get involved with the mini cut movement. Yeah, no, it's completely true. I think there's loads of things in life where you just learn enough to get you by, and for some people that's okay, and the same can be said for your physique. I think a lot of people get to become intermediate and they stay there, and that might be fine for them, but I think there's a lot of people who are frustrated at being intermediate and having an okay amount of muscle. And the thing is, working hard is not going to get you anywhere, so you have to try and think a bit more about how to get to that next level, which is ultimately why we have a job as a coach, really, because we help these sort of people kind of get to that next level. So yeah.
I have a question for you, Steve, because it came up in one of my check-ins here today. With all of the uncertainty that is going on at the moment, another lockdown is taking place in many, many countries, and probably things are not going to get any better anytime soon, right? We know that there are shows taking place all across the globe at the moment, but if things are staying the way they are right now, what is it that you're going to do next year?
Yeah, it's crazy, actually. I literally was saying it to Charlotte the other day. I was like, do you think shows are going to still go ahead? Actually, I was messaging, I've forgotten his name, but you'll probably know who I mean. I think he's maybe Swedish, shredded to the absolute bone. Jared shared some stuff. Really classic. Yeah, Christopher, that's his name. Brilliant. So yeah, Christopher, he's a really cool guy. Like, he's been shredded for ages. He's been so shredded.
And his legs are just so crazy. From the side.
Yeah.
Man,
you got to check, guys,
got to
check out Christopher. I'd probably share him at some stage.
Crazy.
But yeah, he was basically just saying, like, he felt pretty confident that shows weren't going to be cancelled. And I didn't really want to say, like, what's going on in the UK at the moment, because I don't know what that means now for shows. I'm sure the UK, the FBA and the BNBF will say anything if something happens, but the NPA already cancelled their finals a while ago. So I think it's like 4 weeks out now from. I would guess from what I know of the restrictions now that they're still going ahead. But you're completely right. Like, what's going to change next year? I don't know. So I think it's, for me, my plans for a while, it's basically, I don't want to get into that, like, quote unquote, danger zone where you're on fire, that we've talked about, where you're below your body fat settling point. I don't really want to enter that if there's no, if I'm not sure there's a show, because I was just thinking to myself, imagine if I was continued to diet, from this season. Now, like, I would have been a bit similar to Christopher, probably shredded for a long time. And then just the anxiety I'd be experiencing right now with everything that's going on, the uncertainty, and being shredded, the amount of stress that would bring for me personally, I think would be torture, absolute torture. So I can't imagine what some competitors are going through right now. And I'd hope that they can not think about it too much. And I probably would be avoiding the news if I was them, because it wouldn't be helping. So yeah, at the moment, like, I don't think my plans change for next year until crunch time, which will be like basically if I attempt to diet down below 180 pounds, then I want to be sure that I'm dieting down for a show, because if I'm not, it feels like it's definitely just time wasted.
Yeah.
How about you? How are you with things?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I just bring it up because one of my athletes actually said it and brought it up because he's planning and competing next year, and he brought up that he's a little bit worried because things are not getting any kind of better right now. They're actually once again spiking and getting kind of, relatively speaking, a little bit worse again, right? And if there's no vaccine coming like next year, like early next year, do you really expect things to get much, much better by the time that most of the shows are taking place? We don't know for how long this will be around. Perhaps it will be around forever. Who knows, right? I'm not that expert who actually wants to make any kind of claims in that regard. But with that being said, it could very much be that next year, still we are in a position where most major or bigger events are still not allowed, which also, of course, brings up us into a position where we need to reconsider a lot of things. And when it then comes to shows, I'm not sure. I mean, the thing is what I said to him, and this is also my honest opinion. This isn't just something that I said to calm him down, but my honest opinion is like, we are sticking to the plan up until the point where we can make a final decision, or have to perhaps make a final decision. So we have lost nothing if we start the cutting phase, because we have been gaining for a longer period of time. So we are not losing anything in doing the cutting phase. And then we are coming up to a point where it's basically, like you say, the point before you are absolutely on fire. And this is the point where you can still continue to diet for. And then once you are at that point, you can kind of make a good decision or good guess of what may be happening, because what this year has shown us may give us a lot of indicators and clues of how it will be then the next year, if nothing really changes, of how it may evolve throughout the year and the developments that are taking place, right? And yeah, my opinion was just like, okay, stick to the plan for now and then make a decision once it's decision time.
Yeah. And I think you're right in that. The thing is, for someone like Peter Fitchen, it was very weird in that he was like stage ready and then shows were cancelled. So then he had to kind of maintain a show ready physique for a period of time. And there is ways around it for sure. Like, he showed that and he did really, really well. He looked great. But I think because we're getting more and more experience, kind of the setup at shows will be better and better to allow for these things. I don't think it will be something like, if the show, say, for example, shows go ahead this year, I can't see shows not going ahead next year. There's just going to be a bunch of restrictions in place. And it's like, I think next year I don't think it will be impacted, because I don't see things getting much, much worse, at least from the way things have gone. But again, like, who am I to say that? I'm no one.
No, absolutely. But I do agree, though, that first and foremost, I think from a political and economic perspective, things getting much worse. So from an economic perspective, I think that the stock markets are very much artificially propped up. So it could get much, much worse from an economic perspective. Yeah. But from a politics perspective, when it comes to lockdowns and stuff like that, I think that they make better and better decisions because they have had more time to actually figure out the better methodologies and how to go about certain situations. For example, here in Germany, what they've done is actually try now. So they brought down the case spike number. And once now there's a breakout, they're trying to localize it and actually shutting the spreading in that area instead of shutting down the entire country or so, just because in the southern part of Germany, there's cases spiking up, but in the northern part, there's nothing. That would be foolish just to shut down the entire country, right? So, and I think that this will get better over time. Perhaps, of course, this will then impact these kind of events, and you should always be perhaps ready that these things can happen. If you aren't, and if you're then upset when a show is getting canceled or so, I think that then it's kind of ignorant at that point right now, because we have had time to actually learn a little bit about the situation for ourselves. I know I can remember in March, I was very anxious about the entire situation and the uncertainty about the future, what is going on. Right now, everything calmed down just a little bit more. It's kind of still the same situation. Nothing really has changed that significantly. But we have learned to live a little bit more with the situation. And thus, we can also be prepared for these kind of things. And we shouldn't then be upset if something is actually being canceled or so. Yeah, it's not the coolest, but at the same time, I wouldn't be too stressed about it, right? And yeah, we will have to wait and see how things evolve. But for me personally, it doesn't really change much as of yet.
Yeah,
I would still run with a plan right now. Still haven't decided whether I'm going to compete next year or not. This is something that I will probably also decide once I'm getting into a cutting phase. I would probably kickstart things off, as always, like very aggressively. That may kind of seem like a mini cut in the beginning, but then, come up with a decision of whether I want to make an extended cut or whether it's just a mini cut that sets me off for the next gaining phase. Yeah. That's my situation at the moment.
The great thing is, until you go into that quote unquote fire, there's no time lost. Like, it's fine. You're just going to be leaner. Yeah. And in fact, I really appreciated getting down to 180 pounds because I was like, it gave me new ideas about, what's my true stage weight going to be? Mm-hmm. And I still felt good at that time. So yeah, it's nothing lost in that regard. Yeah,
and the confidence that it gave you because you realized like, holy shit, I actually gained a lot of muscle mass in the off season. Yeah. So there's so much value in that. And also because we are always saying dieting is a skill. If you do it one more time, it's another kind of deposited penny in your bank account where it's like, yeah, I've done it one more time, and thus it's probably beneficial in the long term. For example, I'm doing a mini cut with the Z at the moment, and we have gone through cyclic phases of now cutting and gaining. And right now he's at a point where it's like he started the mini cut. He said like, okay, I switched back to just my diet mode where I had already kind of the foods ready. I know what type of foods I need to eat when I'm cutting and the meal compositions and all that kind of stuff. And this is so valuable, and this only comes with experience. And he's now into diet mode, and the same applies to me as well. Once I'm in a diet mode, I know which buttons to press, and thus I'm immediately there, and I know immediately what type of foods I need to eat in order to still be satiated and don't feel like I'm dieting. And going through these times, so what is it that you would have done otherwise? Just gain the entire time? Probably not.
Yeah. And then also you learn, like, don't know, when you haven't dieted for a while, you kind of get a bit anxious, like, can I get shredded? Like, can I get lean? And it's like, is that going to happen for me? And so it builds that confidence, and you get experience with those plateaus and what to do in those situations. And you kind of learn your kind of water retention and what that looks like and everything. Every cut's a little bit different, but some of those things just, experience cures anxiety in that sense. So you become more skilled at that.
Cool. Let's move over to questions, shall we?
Let's do it.
So Andrew White, he hasn't commented the last week, but he was still on it for giving out a comment here this week. And he's a supporter. That's why he is prioritized. So Andrew White, right now I'm fighting tooth and nail to coach myself because it requires me to do all the research, learning, and application myself. And I love that. But I definitely hope to apply for coaching with you all at some point in the near future. And that's it. That was the comment. No, I'm just kidding. So I have two quick questions. In your opinion, is this a good reason to self-coach, or do you think I'm making a mistake in waiting? Describe the personality types and so point number 2, describe the personality types and qualities of your ideal, in quotation marks, client, and how they may differ from each other, and given your own personalities and coaching styles. Do you like coaching people who want to be hardcore and go all in? Question mark. Cool. So should we cover the first one first? So in your opinion, is this a good reason to self-coach, or do you think I am making a mistake in waiting?
So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I don't think you can really make a mistake as such. If you're seeing progress, then you're not making a mistake. But I do think coaching can be incredibly valuable and it can speed the process up. I kind of have made the analogy towards like you play a computer game and you can just go at that computer game and you can do your best, or you can have a handbook and you can go through it and it tells you where all the secret packages are and all the kind of routes and how to defeat like your bosses. And it's like, well, which approach is better? Well, maybe you'll learn more if you do it all yourself, but maybe you'll get there way more efficiently and quicker through a coach or a handbook, especially if that handbook / coach is trying to educate you along the way and you're asking questions. So I would say I am probably biased in that I just think coaching, and from coaching people and doing that, people just take so much away from that experience. And you only learn by doing that. However, I do think being self-coached now and then does teach like self-sufficiency. I think having self-coached going into coaching is a good thing because there's a lot of work that has to be done on your end. Like the handbook, you have to actually execute things. There's a lot of work that has to be done. So if you've already been self-coached, you know that by default because you're having to do what you're telling yourself to do. And sometimes it allows you to experiment with some things and learn some things about yourself that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. So I think everyone starts self-coached, right? Really. So I think doing some of that at the start is great, and knowing that it requires work from your end. And then I think you can really appreciate from then going into a coaching environment and kind of confirming some of your thoughts, being inquisitive, asking questions, I think can make that kind of efficient progress be even better with an education along the way as well. At least that's my perspective on it.
Yeah. So I'm very much on board with you as well on everything that you said there. I think one of the very, very common in quotation marks mistake that many people regret that they've done is not having gotten a coach like early in their lifting careers. This is also applying to me. Like, honestly, I've wasted years, freaking years, because I thought that I knew better. Right? It's unfortunate because these years I never get back. And I would have been so much further in my physical advancement, but also in my psychological advancement, and also just like the knowledge that I have now in coaching myself and others would have been so much further ahead of where I'm at right now. But I was just like perhaps too proud, too stubborn. I didn't know any kind of better. I thought that coaching isn't valuable because I've never tried it. So I never have realized the true benefits of it, right? Maybe sometimes it's just you think you have an idea of what this may look like, but in reality, you have no freaking idea of what coaching looks like, for example. This is not just coaching, but many things in life in general. So I know this will sound a little bit hypocritical, though, because we both are self-coached. So if someone is asking us, like, is it a bad idea to do self-coaching? And I'm saying like, no, you should get a coach. It sounds very hypocritical, especially coming from a coach. It sounds like a sales pitch or so, right? So why am I not doing it myself? And I said it in the past. It's not that I don't want to, but I haven't found the coach that I kind of click with. And also, it takes a long time to build a relationship. And I have the feeling, and this is something that I said to Steve at one point where I had that consultation with someone else. And I came off the consultation and said like, Steve, actually, this made me realize one thing. And that is, you have been with me since like over 4 years now. You have gone with me through every fucking shit, right? You know me inside out. And you know what is going on in my head and all that kind of stuff, right? What I'm dealing with as a person that other people don't know about. And even if I'm trying to explain it to them in a single consultation, they will never grasp it really and get the complete picture and image about it. You have like 4 years of context. The other person has like half an hour. All right. And for me, it was just clear that no coach I could hire could give me that what Steve could give me. So this is a very special kind of a situation that I'm in, that I kind of have a coach by my side who's not really my coach who I'm paying, who I'm checking in with on a consistent basis, but who I can run with, like sending over some ideas, being like just sharing my thoughts and who I am and all that kind of stuff. And you are giving me then feedback on that matter, right? But because this is such a special situation, I think that I'm having a coach. And that's why it's not hypocritical after all, because I'm since 4 years, I have kind of a coach. And I see great benefits in that. Just like running a lot of ideas, especially my doubts towards you, and you're just like confirming some of the things, maybe redirecting me and helping me just become a better and more mature person. And I think when you look back at the first Improvement Season podcast episodes, you can clearly tell that I was a mess in many, many instances. And when you take a look at me now, I would very much assume that I'm so much more of a grown up and mature person, in especially like from an athlete perspective, but also just like from a life perspective. And I think that in a couple of years from now, it will be even further ahead. And this is thanks to having a coach by my side. And I think that even though that I say that I'm self-coached, it's not really. I'm just doing kind of my programming. But still, my ideas, my doubts, I'm still running by someone else. And I think that this is something that many people neglect in realizing that a coach is not just there to give you a program, or give you some kind of nutritional guidance. He's so much more than this, so much more than this. Right? He should be your teammate, and hopefully also at some point a very close friend of yours who has and follows the same goals that you are then following for yourself. And he's supportive in that kind of instance, right? And is it a mistake to then make that decision of coaching yourself? I have a hard time saying no, because I see also great benefits in that one. And once again, I would sound like a hypocrite if I were to say no. But at the same time, I see so much more benefits in having someone by your side. And even if you are a little bit biased in your situation right now, because you want to coach yourself, because you think that's a great idea, maybe having someone by your side who gives you some autonomy so that you have the feeling that you are still programming things for yourself, still having a coach or a mentor by your side is never a bad idea. And I think that every great mind in human history had a great mentor. I would be very shocked to see that this isn't the case. Most insanely great stories from great minds in human history, they always had some kind of mentor that showed them the path.
Yeah, I think it's
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You mentioned so many good points there. And one I definitely want to bring up is reflecting on the Improvement Season from the past, actually. And actually thinking back to that, I do remember checking in with you every week. And it always felt, unfortunately, there was a time where it was like, how are things going? And on my end, I remember it being positives, and your end was almost always negative, which is horrible to say. Like, I hate to say it, but it was. But now it's not in the slightest. Like, every week checking in with you, it's way more positive, and you've come so far since then. And I'm really proud to have somewhat been part of that, because like you say, we're connecting. I don't feel like I'm coaching you by any means, but we definitely pass thoughts and concerns by one another all the time. And I think that's a really important to mention, because I have been coached. When I first did my first contest prep, I was coached for that. And that was a great experience. I learned so much that I still use today, foundational things about like macros and all of those aspects, and even like refeeds. Did I refeed? Yeah, we did some refeeds back then, but just programming and like how to do some of the core basics. And I know you've been coached in the past. I'm sure some of the core fundamental things that you got from some of those coaches was just like fundamentally so great. So actually, I would say getting a coach earlier is almost better, because it just it speeds you up. You go from like, I don't know, 25% up to like 75%. And then I think some of those last percent, you have to learn on your own. And
perhaps,
that's where
sorry to interrupt you there, Steve. I just want to throw it in very quickly. Perhaps also you're not having a made up mind by that point, because the more advanced you are, the more ingrained some of the thoughts and beliefs that you have built are, and thus you're probably less susceptible and actually changing your views and beliefs. And when you are in the beginning, then I would assume that you are more willing to just be shaped and formed by that mentor, by that coach. I just wanted to throw that in one more time.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the relationship aspect, and we're very fortunate that we are day in, day out be able to talk to one another, contact different experts in the field if we need to. We have a really strong circle. We have a coaching team that we can throw our thoughts by if we need to. We have Harry, Jess, Ryan, Mike, all in our corner, as well as one another. So whilst it seems very much like we're very self-coached and we do our program and everything, we have this support network, which a coach would provide you. And we have a relationship network that a coach would provide you, hopefully. And I see myself, and I think about coaching, I'm like, I used to question, like, what is my value? Because everything I do, you can get for free. Like, we put out all our information for free. People can learn exactly the way we program, like exactly the fundamentals of programming, of nutrition, of like long-term periodization, of how we do a contest prep. We have our book, we have our primer ebook, but there's a big difference between then getting into the person's shoes and getting them to adhere to things, getting them to be consistent with things, learning their personality, what makes them tick. Do you need to build up their confidence? Do you need to rein them in? How you get them from being complacent? Because that's normally the issues that people are having, is that they don't maybe trust themselves, they question too many things, they program hop. And in a sense, that relationship that you build with a client, that's a skill. That's a true skill of coaching, is being able to build those relationships, because the rest of it, you can learn in a textbook and you can get free online, but that doesn't make you a great coach. It's that communication, that empathy. And so, yeah, we have the knowledge, and then we get that almost from our team. So in a sense, we have the elements of a coaching framework there. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to expand on what you said there, because like I do see why it might look hypocritical, but when you explain that, I don't think it is as such.
Yeah.
Because if you're on your own, for example, just say you're like, I don't know, you just have your wife and you have some mates who you meet in the pub, but none of them really train or lift that much. It's like, where's your network? Yeah. It's going to be hard.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Not only that, but it's always, like I say, people are very bad, or human beings are very bad at thinking, but they are very good at speaking. And once you're saying things out loudly, and this is also the value of the video check-ins that we are doing, that people are just reflecting upon the last week, just by speaking. Right? This is what clinical psychology is mostly revolved around, of just like letting the patient talk, because sometimes they are actually revealing a lot about themselves and realizing for themselves what it is that they should do, or the problems that have arrived. And that wasn't clear to them before they talked about it. And if you coach yourself, how often do you talk to yourself? I talk through what has happened here in the last week. How often also, and this is one thing, are you then truly sitting down and looking at the spreadsheet, questioning yourself like, okay, well, was this really a good idea? Was this good? Most of the time, we are actually fucking lazy when it comes to coaching ourselves. We think that we are doing much, but actually we are doing nothing at all. This is just like we are writing a program and then we are executing without very much reflecting upon what has been going on in that single week or the last week. When it comes to nutrition, we have no one to keep accountable for. If we are then deviating from the macros at some point, who fucking cares, right? Because most of the time we are not judging ourselves in that instance, because we are making up some valid arguments for why this is or was a good idea, right? And having someone by your side, he keeps you accountable as well. And he then invests time in looking over everything and giving some questions that you should have asked yourself, but you would have never done if you were then coaching yourself. Also different perspective when it comes, and things that you need to take into consideration when it comes to coaching yourself.
Out of interest, Pascal, how often have you had a client say something like, you always know what to say, like you're always speaking my mind, or something? Like, quite often I will say a sentence and I'll talk through something, I'm like, maybe that lights a bulb, or that maybe that is like congruent with something you're thinking, and it just, like, because you learn the client, you kind of almost learn what they're thinking, you just guide them into the direction.
I mean, I could now be like patting myself on the shoulder and be like, yeah, super often, but I can't really recall, to be honest. And but more so in a different sense, it's more like I for once, or there was a time where I was saving like very positive emails, just also for reminding myself about, okay, there are actually some good things that you're doing, right? Because you always have also moments where it's kind of failing, or where you do things incorrectly or so, that then sit with you very negatively as well. And that is a good thing, that it impacts you negatively, right? And gives you that uncomfortable feeling, because that allows you to move forward in a more stronger and also in a more knowledgeable manner. Anyway, there are times where then a client comes back of like, okay, these were the words that I needed to hear. Thank you very much just for that, for reminding me about these things, or just for like giving me a little bit of a gentle push or so. And this is also very much important. And is that something that you can provide to yourself? Like, Andrew, yes, this is what I needed to hear. Thank you very much for talking to myself. No, because you are very much critical about the things that you're saying. And there is the saying of like, you are your own worst enemy. And this isn't just coming from somewhere. There is some truth to it. Right? So yeah, it has its limitations. It has its benefits. And I think it's always then also individual dependent what type of person you are. So for some, it may work better than for others. But I think that giving it a try is always worth it. Unless you know from the get-go, like, okay, no, I will lose my shit. So point number 2, describe the personality types and qualities of your ideal client and how they may differ from each other, given your own personalities and coaching style. Do you like coaching people who want to be hardcore and go all in?
Cool. So yeah, for me, this is going to sound, I don't know what it will sound like really, but I don't have an ideal client in mind. Not really. I guess as far as I'm concerned, ideal is as long as they're willing to be honest, communicate with me, do what kind of we have in our handbook in terms of the expectations I have of them. It allows me to work with them, because if I'm not getting like a filled out spreadsheet, or they're not like talking through their true honest feelings, or they're hiding things from me, I don't know those. I can't know that. And so I can't be the best coach for them. I do have it sometimes where clients just won't open up, and I try and work on that. So like open, honest communication. If something doesn't feel right, if they're not happy with something, I want them to tell me. I try and say that like you probably do as well. Like we're like, just be honest. It's so important, but you have to develop that trust and that buy-in. And hopefully we're doing that offline right now. Hopefully we're doing that for people. So when they come to the consultation, they're already like, I kind of trust you. In that consultation, you're creating more and more trust and buy-in. And then once they've signed up, hopefully you're on a really good page with them. But then over weeks, you show that you've got their back, and then you develop that fantastic relationship. And that's the ideal client to me. It doesn't matter what their goals are. It doesn't matter how much, like kind of how many sessions they can do in a week, if they want to compete or not. As long as they're willing to really invest in me so I can really invest back in them, that's like my ideal client. And the reason it's ideal is because they're the ones who get the best results. And ultimately, that's the most kind of rewarding thing ever, is when you can truly help someone. But you can only truly help someone if they truly want that help and they're willing to invest into you, and also, I guess, be open-minded, because that can hold things back when they are kind of set in their ways. But normally by the time we're very fortunate that people come to the consultation, they're normally of that kind of open-minded mindset. Sometimes not always, but most of the time they're kind of there. So yeah, and in terms of being hardcore and like really want to push the bounds, that's cool, that's fun. But equally, if someone just wants to like get fitter, get healthier, as long as they're kind of, we can build a really good rapport and relationship, like that's super fun to me as well.
Yeah. Jonathan, Jason, whoever said that one comment in the last episode about he wished that I'm being more concise with my answers. You will hate this now, because sometimes I have a hard time actually wrapping my head around a specific topic, and I have so many things I would like to say, also to make it very much understandable what I want to actually send over as a message to the people. And in that instance, it's like, let me first answer the last one. Do you like coaching people who want to be hardcore and go all in? When it comes to with the right mentality in other aspects, yeah. Right? And this is basically what you've talked about. What do I have about someone being or deeming themselves as hardcore or wanting to go all in, if they don't want to listen, they are not willing to change things about themselves, they have their own way of doing things, and they are very much like, no, this is how I learn things, and right? And they are not a good client overall, like willing to change something, willing to listen, being open-minded, being communicative about the weeks, the things, how they feel, all these kind of things. These are actually traits that make a good client, and not someone who's hardcore or want to go all in. You can't imagine how many people I've already had consultations with who said like, yeah, I'm willing to invest a lot. I'm willing to invest a lot of time and effort. And these are most of the time the people who immediately, when you challenge them with what is really then necessary in order to get a move forward and make some progress, the progress that they would like to, like in their own perception, right? Because they are willing to do everything, right? And my obligation as a coach is then I'm trying my very best to actually give it to them, right? Because me as a coach, I have an obligation, and that is bringing the client to their desired outcome in the best way possible, as long as it's, of course, a little bit more of a realistic approach. But when they're saying like, hey, I'm willing to do everything and willing to invest a lot, most of the time, these are the people who are falling off the wagon or who are changing their minds every now and then. It's like after 2 months, they have a different idea. It's like a small kid. Today, he wants a puppy. Tomorrow, it's a PS5. All right? He can't make up his mind. And this is so often how these people are. I'm not saying that it's always the case, but unfortunately, it's often. And because of that, other traits for a client are so much more important. And these are the things that Steve has already talked about. Which brings me then to the first point, like the description of the ideal client. So first and foremost, to be politically correct, I would actually very much be in line with what Steve has said, right? Because so many people, and this is so funny because Steve and I have talked about it a lot of times. Steve and I, even though that it may not appear like this to the outside, we are very much fucked up in many, many ways. And how committed we are to the entire thing. And Steve laughs a little bit and smiles a little bit.
It muted. I couldn't hear
it. Really?
Really? Yeah, when you said it, like, I didn't hear it. I was like,
okay. I said, you and I, we are very much fucked up when it comes to the commitment of the entire thing.
Right. Yeah, right?
We are. Because what we are doing, I have yet to see a client who's willing to do what we are doing. And is that a bad thing? No, because I know how fucked up we are. I know how much time and effort we are investing. I have maybe, and this is not even meant in an offensive way, right? I know that many of my athletes who are very passionate about the entire thing, who commit a lot of time and effort already into that is not talking down on them or saying like, okay, you should invest more. That's not what I'm saying. But I may have like one client I can think of from the top of my head who's as fucked up as we are. One. All right.
I think I have one, maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely one. Then maybe others, but sometimes it's a time thing for them.
Yeah.
That they want to commit more, but they can't.
Yeah. And this is where I'm then saying like, okay, the ideal client would be someone who would be so fucked up as we are, because with those type of individuals, you don't need to hold back at all. At all. It's just like straight to the point, do this, and they are doing everything that they possibly can in order to achieve this, right? And you can be very direct and very critical about the entire thing, and they just take it as it is instead of taking it from a different perspective, how you didn't mean it to come across. So, this is, of course, more of an illusion. I know that these type of people are more so rare, and I don't even know whether this is cool to work with those. It's the same with, do I want to be in a relationship with me? Hell no. I know how fucking awful I can be at times, how fucking annoying I can be at times. Just when I were to imagine that I would be having a female pendant of myself at home, holy shit, we would just be fighting the entire time. All right? And this is maybe the same here. I have an illusion in my head of what the ideal client would look like, but I'm not even certain whether it would turn out that this is the ideal client. Right? But yeah, I would sometimes wish to just work with someone who is sometimes as fucked up as we are. That doesn't mean that I purely want to have my roster with people like this, because I could also imagine that this is very, very demanding overall. But people who, I mean, we, once again, just to put it into perspective, we invest a lot of time. And sometimes other people may call it sacrificing other things in our life. I call it setting priorities. I'm never sacrificing anything. It's more like, okay, this is more important to me, and that's why I'm putting more effort and time towards this. But I also know that this is unfeasible and unrealistic for most people. And I'm not expecting that from any one of my athletes. And this then ties back to what we talked about before, that the traits that are important are more important than what I deem as an ideal client. The coaching isn't about me. It really isn't. So it's not important what I deem as ideal or as the perfect outcome for someone. Right? My desires, what I like in life, has nothing to do with what the client's goals are and what they want to accomplish. And you should never mistake that to be the case. You as a coach, you have an obligation to your clients and their needs and their desires and goals, not to your own goals and desires.
And I'd only add to that in saying that sometimes a client might start and they might appear from the surface not ideal, where they question things a lot and they flip-flop quite a lot. And I've had this with guys, particularly guys. We mainly coach males anyway, but particularly guys, because women are normally a little bit more accepting. They tend to be, where they are like, they're almost critical of you, like almost you haven't bought their trust yet. But after a while, they do trust you, and then they turn more so into that typical ideal client. But they were ideal, they just needed time to like warm up. And that's the unfortunate thing, and this is the only thing I'd additionally add, is someone who's willing to just invest time. Like, we have a 3-month minimum sign-up time for a reason, but even 3 months, we've said this many times between us, that, I mean, unless they're really investing from the get-go, 3 months, you're not going to even build that huge a relationship yet. 6 months, woof, that's pretty damn good. And more than that is like amazing. So yeah, someone who's willing to invest the time and not to expect like miracles within 3 months, because you're not going to get a miracle. It's just not happening.
No. We are actually up on time. Once again,
damn.
we've only
2
questions from the same guy. But thank you very much for those great questions, Andrew. And also thank you very much for being a supporter. Means a lot. And also for other guys who wants to support us, head over to Patreon. But the thing is that you could also easily just head over to the membership site, sign up there. And it's kind of like a Patreon subscription as well, right?
And they get
while you're also reaping the rewards of having a lot of content at your disposal.
I recently did a presentation on low-hanging fruit, and someone commented on, I shared a section of it onto Instagram, and someone commented and said, one of the easy low-hanging fruit to get is part of the members site. It's a small cost of investment and you get a lot of reward. And I was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Do we need to pick winners from...
yeah. Let's do this.
Do we have to pick 2 winners from 2 different
comment picker.
episodes?
Let me just do this. Comment picker. Have you already kind of a
question for this time? That's a good...
Yeah. Man, we are so bad. We are never prepared. We should actually be better at that one. So I have the comment picker up. I just need the video from last week and the week prior to that, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to relate something that we've spoken about so people can comment something different this week. But the only thing I've got in my mind is it's terrible. It's just a generic one. What people's favorite cutting food. When they look to cut, what's their favorite go-to food that they always consume on a cut?
Yeah,
that's the one I want. Because that's
good
cut.
Because it can also be valuable for other people to know what it then is. So wait a second, let me just put it over here to the other. Wait a second, there it is. So I'm going to share my screen, as always, so that everyone can see it, share screen, it's over here. So let me know whether you can see it.
Yeah.
So comment picker here for the first video, of course, it's over here. It's 169. What foot stance for the biggest quad activation? Copy pasting it over here, then get YouTube comments, and then go down here, start raffle and pick random winner. Drum roll. It is Nabil. Hammer strength are by far my best equipment, and favorite machine is the shoulders for lateral machine work. Anything to say there, Steve?
I do. Actually, I don't know if you've got one, but we're very lucky in the gym. They have the machine lateral raise. And
yeah, we have one as well.
It's great. That's
and I've implemented that one. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you can't go too heavy on those machines because you immediately don't feel it in the delts anymore. Go light and then go all the way up with the range of motion. So yeah, let's then go. So Nabil, reach out to us, please. All right. So going over to 170, were the bros right all along? I can't really recall what we said there.
That was who's your favorite natty. Well,
That's true.
I think it was just favorite bodybuilder, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. So copy paste here, get YouTube comments, start picking a random winner, and it's going to be Christy. Oh, he's always negative about the comments that we are about the videos. He's always like, I don't know, he's bored. He doesn't like our videos. Still listening. I don't know.
He's commenting
Chris,
anyway.
if this is only like you trolling, cool, right? Congratulations, you got a free membership now to the membership side. Maybe we can convince you that we are not as boring as you always perceive them to be, or us to be. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. You now know what to do and what to comment in the comment section below. Thanks as always for tuning in. It's always a pleasure for you guys sticking around for that long. So I brought it up the last times already. I mean, if you stick around for that long, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. I mean, the button is there for a reason. And also hit the likes, so the thumb up button and notification button, so that you always know when a new episode is coming out. So guys, I guess I'll speak to you soon. And thank you very much, Steve.
Cheers, guys. So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.